Hey guys, Blackwatch here. In this video, I'm going to cover how I organize my week and how I stay focused. Lately, I've been a bit bogged down with just multiple tasks. There's been a lot of things going on lately, and I thought it'd be a good time to revisit my productivity kind of checklist, how I do things from a weekly basis, and break it down for you guys to see, maybe this can work for you. I've got a lot of things going on. I'm a trading consultant at Phantom Trading FX. I am a father of 2 children. I am building out a product right now, and there's a lot behind that, from launch stuff, marketing stuff, to branding, like you name it, just a lot of stuff. We also have the Phantom Elite Masterclass coming up this weekend. We're building out the Phantom Trading Plan as well for the community. There's just a lot of projects, and there's a lot of moving pieces to all these things. And there, at certain points, I'll just catch myself where I'm trying to do 20% of one thing and then moving on to the next thing and then working on that and never really completing the one task. I thought it was best to revisit some of my productivity tips and figure out a good way to organize it and structure it in a way that you guys can get value from the way I do things. It's always touch and go. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? It really depends on what kind of motivation you're working with. It's not always going to be 100% like gung-ho, like this is how I do it and it's going to get done exactly this way, right? A lot of times it takes a certain level of motivation, and sometimes that motivation needs to be built in simple ways. You need to find something kind of quick and easy that you can accomplish to kind of propel yourself forward into wanting to work on some other things. Because, let's be honest, there are certain tasks that a lot of us just don't want to work on, but you know that you have to work on it. And some of the good rules for that is like doing it first, right? You wake up in the morning, the first thing that you don't want to do, or the least thing that you want to do, you do it first, right? And then that sets the momentum for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. There is one, I forget what it's called, but it's called eating the frog, I think. And the idea is that if you had to eat a frog every day for the rest of your life, the best thing that you could possibly do is when you wake up, eat that frog first thing in the morning. Otherwise, if you put it off, you will then have to eat it the next day, and the next day you'll have 2 frogs, and it will just pile up, and it'll just pile up. Now, you could sit there and say, man, I didn't eat my frog today, but tomorrow I'll eat it, and then you just chill the rest of the day. But every now and again, you'll just get this thought in the back of your head that's going to say, I gotta eat that frog tomorrow, and then it's going to pile up. You're like, man, I gotta eat 2 frogs, and it just piles up and piles up. The idea is to just do the least favorable task first thing in the morning, build that momentum, get it out of the way, and let everything else follow behind it. What I'll do here is I'll kind of break down what I do on a weekly basis, because I do tend to break down my tasks from a week to week basis. I find that day to day, like hour to hour structure is a little too, it's a little too tight. There's not a lot of flex room. And often I find myself saying, okay, well, I'll work for 2 hours on this, and then I have to go to this project, or I have to do this thing. But then what I'll do is I'll find good momentum in that one thing that I'm doing, and I'll just push through that other time block. And then that other project or that other thing, that other task, it gets pushed to the side, and now that piles up somewhere else. And then if I work on that one, I still have to finish this other thing. So the first thing that I like to do is I like to time block my week. So again, what that means is I'm going to go through, I'm going to say Monday and Tuesday, I'm going to work on, let's, for example, just say Phantom, right? I'll do all the Phantom pieces. So that means working on my elite stuff, working on the trading plan stuff. Then I've got Wednesday, Thursday, maybe that's YouTube, and maybe that's the other project, right? Or maybe this week I worked on just the other project, and then next week I'll work on YouTube, right? And then Friday, typically what I'm doing on Friday is kind of like, it's my flex day, right? So I'll take that day, and anything that spilled over from early in the week that I'm either near finishing or just needs a little extra bit of time, I'll work on that on Friday. Now, I'm pretty guilty of working on nights as well, but I try not to lately, but I'm not going to throw that in there. But weekends is it's just as important to get efficient work in as it is to rest. So one of the things that you need to make sure that you're doing is you're taking your proper rest, you're getting good sleep. I obviously don't get good sleep. If you watch my last video, you'll see that one of my sleep hacks was basically being asleep for longer than I'm actually in bed. So I don't know how it's done. I think it has something to do with my kids waking up in the middle of the night and me getting out of bed. That's the first thing, right? You want to block your time by the week, right? Day-to-day chunks, not necessarily hours, but your day-to-day chunks. If you're working on your trade plan or you're studying the Phantom methodology or any other trading strategy, right? There are core fundamentals. There are pieces of that strategy that you need to master individually before you can put it all together. For example, for us, we have structure, we have supply and demand, we have order flow, we have liquidity, we have entries, we have trade management, we have all these different pieces that require significant effort. And you can't just study 3 or 4 of those topics in a single day and then just expect to be able to apply it when you're in a live market. What we always recommend is that you take a week at a time to learn just structure. Take a week to learn supply and demand. Take a week to learn the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And as you take sufficient time to learn these pieces, you can then put it together in a much more coherent and cohesive way that allows you to have a little bit more confidence when you're trading in the markets, right? You don't want to rush the process. And that should be the same for the work that you're putting out, right? Your output should be good, not quick and dirty. It should be clean and thoughtful and thorough, right? So after you've blocked out your week and you know exactly what your days are going to look like, the next thing that I like to do is I like to do a mind map. Now I might have a specific task, right, that I need to get done, but it has multiple tasks within it, and I can break it down. And probably my favorite tool for that is using a mind map. Now you could just sit there and you could just list out check mark or bullet points of different things that you have to do and just list them down in a row. But I always found that never really worked for me. I would write them all down, I'd get them on paper, but then I would never go back to look at them. Or when I would look at them, I would just kind of glance over them. I'd miss key details. I wouldn't necessarily read it through thoroughly and apply it in an efficient way. But something about mind maps is really helpful because it allows you to visualize your thoughts in a much nicer way. And the way you're going to do that is you're basically going to just make a circle and you're going to have your main point. From there, you have sub points, right, that just scale out from the sides, and you can just visualize a few key components to that. So for example, if you're building out a trading plan, right, obviously that's the main point that you're going to be working on. You want to build out the mind map for that. You need to say, okay, well, for the trading plan, you might want to have one subtask be break down each concept, right? And then from there, that might span into a different mind map, right? You might have a couple points coming off of that have their own subpoints, right? And once you have the main idea for your mind map, you start to break it down with these various legs and subtasks. And then what you can do is you can then divide them amongst your days. So if you're working on your trade plan for Monday and Tuesday, for example, you might say, okay, well, I know at Phantom we have structure, supply and demand, we have liquidity, we have entries, all this other stuff, right? These might be various points or subtasks from your mind map. And what you want to do is you want to say, okay, Monday, I'm going to focus on structure. What do I need to focus on structure specifically? Well, let's look at the theory. Let's try to understand that. And eventually what this does is it allows you to organize that main task, break it down into smaller tasks, and then potentially those into smaller tasks. But as you complete them day by day, week by week, you will slowly chip away at a main goal that you've had. Building a trading plan. It's a very big goal. If you just write on a piece of paper, checkbox, build a trading plan, that's a very daunting thing. Where do you start? How do you break it down? It's very difficult to start a task like that unless you had very small achievable goals that help you get to that end goal. And that is kind of the point of breaking up your weeks and then building a mind map around it. Now, something else that I have to use personally, and I think it would probably help a lot of people, is that sometimes there are a lot of subtasks. sometimes there's just too many things to do in a single day. Now, you might have your week broken up. You might have the mind map, but you may feel the need to accomplish a lot of different tasks within it. I think this fits into the idea of just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should, right? You want to be able to give yourself enough rest. You want to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. And then when you focused on it, you can then move on to the next thing with a clear mind and a rested mind. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to focus on 3 main tasks, right? So first I break down my week, and then I build my mind map. And then on a daily structure, I focus on 3 main things that I have to accomplish. And as long as I can accomplish those things, I am happy. If I have more time or energy to do additional tasks, I will do it. But generally speaking, 3 tasks is the most that I want to accomplish. Now, when I'm working on those 3 tasks, now I've talked about it in other videos, I've talked about it in the community. One of my main tools for accomplishing each of those tasks is using the Pomodoro Technique. Now, I know that you guys have seen this before. This is the my timer cube, Pomodoro timer cube. It's not exactly a Pomodoro cube because it does 30 minutes where the actual Pomodoro Technique is 25-minute intervals, but it's kind of whatever. The idea is this: you do 4 intervals of 25 or 30 minutes, and then between each interval, you want to take a 5-minute break. After the 4th interval, you take a longer break of 20 minutes, and then you start that cycle over again until you've completed the task. So depending on what task I'm working on, obviously some are longer than others, what I like to do is I like to just start my task, right? So that means if I have to do research, or if I want to understand the theory, right? I might just read some resources for 5 minutes. And that usually kicks me off. I say, okay, look, I just need to at least work for 5 minutes just to get kind of the wheels rolling. And then from there, I can boost myself up, and hopefully I'll feel a little bit more motivation to finish out the cycles. A real kind of bonus tip, right, is if you need kind of a quick way to kind of motivate yourself, and it's a trick that I found on YouTube. I can't remember who it was from, but it was the idea of just counting to yourself, right? Let's say, for instance, you're sitting here, you're working, and you need to get a glass of water, something basic like that. Because I know you people are out there where you're like, I'm too busy, I can't even go eat food right now. Whatever it is, if you just sit there and you say, all right, I'm going to count to 3. When I get to 3, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go. Or I'm going to get up and take my break. Or I'm going to get up and I'm going to start that task. If you just say, all right, on the count of 3, I'm going to do it. So 1, 2, 3, I'm going to stand up. You stand up. Something about counting to 3 is triggering this effect where you get to accomplish this very, very simple and easy task. It sets you into motion a little bit. And from there, you can then go and start to working. It doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work every time. However, give it a shot. See how you feel about it. It's weird. It works for me. And it usually is with things that I don't necessarily want to do, but I know I have to do it. It's like, all right, 1, 2, 3, go. And then for whatever reason, it just tells me to go. Because I almost feel like kind of a dickhead to myself. If I count to 3 and I don't do it, I'm like, wow, really? You can't go do it? So something about it, whatever it is, it kind of kicks me in the ass and tells me to go. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Again, if you suffer from brain fog, or just having too many things on your plate and just being all over the place, you're working on this partially, you're partially working on this, you want to read the new book that you got, but you don't have time to do it because you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that. You know, one of the biggest things that you need to make sure that you understand is that nothing will get done well if you're trying to do 20 things at once, right? You need to make sure you give everything dedicated focus, distraction-free work, and just being able to put your head down and say, okay, for 30 minutes, just 30 minutes, I'm going to work on building out the theory for structure so I can understand it. Sometimes you'll want to go longer than 30 minutes. It's just to get you started, right? And the idea of breaking down your weeks and breaking down your mind maps so that way it is structured, right? Working with a structured formation and just having an idea of what you want to do either the night before or the morning of is a great way to kick yourself into motivation to get the task done that you know you need to get done and stop procrastinating. Now, of course, one of the things that I'm always going to recommend is that put your phone, right, in a focus mode, right? Again, I've got YouTube on right now. It limits your distractions and your notifications on your phone. If you haven't seen the video on how to set up various focus modes, I'll link it up in the top corner. And yeah, just give it a watch, see how you like it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like the video, comment below, give me a thumbs up, sub if you want more content like this. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. See ya.
Trees make them tell them all their secrets like it's nothing. Carrying a smell of something sweet got me running.
This is called Russian roulette Pomodoro, or Pomodoro Russian roulette. Pomo roulette. Ooh, there it is. Ready? Whatever time it lands on, you have to read the nearest book. Ready? Damn, 60 minutes. All right, cool. See you guys.
Blow your wish.